So I'm going to make the loom of my weaving in the shape of an animal. So I've got some tracers of llamas if you want to do a llama. However, if you want to do a cat or a dragon or something, you can pick the animal that you would like the little weaving to be a little blanket on the back of. So I'm going to take mine and I'm going to just trace it out. You can, of course, draw out your own animal. And you could add other details in pencil first, or just go ahead and use Sharpie. It's kind of your... Now you can add details and texture with color pencil, marker, or Sharpie. Draw 5 lines at the top, 5 lines right underneath at the bottom. I'll have a little guide for that cut out as well. So you can see now if I hold this up, you could go in and draw your lines in those little sections. I'm gonna go ahead when I finish doing this and cut it out. You can use my cardboard scissors or you can use regular big scissors. You do not have to cut exactly on the line. I'm gonna actually go a little bit on the outside just to make it easier in some of the places. If you want to try to cut exactly on your line, you're welcome to. Just with cardboard, it's really hard to get into corners. Whenever I hit a spot that's kind of too hard, I come back to it later from a different angle. And then I'm going to go in and cut these 5 little slots. 1, 2. Now I'm ready to weave my loom. Before I do that, I want to just make sure my name's on here. So I'm going to... where that is. I'm going to leave a tail so I can tie it easily enough. And I go from the top to the one right underneath. Pull it nice and tight. On the back side here, I go diagonally up to the next one, straight down. Diagonally up to the next one, straight down. So it should look just like that. Diagonally up. Uh-oh. That happens. Straight down, diagonally up, and then straight down. Oh no. Try not to bend those. It might happen like mine just kind of did. Just put it back where it is. Okay, there we go. I got just the tiniest little cute weaving there. With this other piece. Drop off that yarn, tie it together. Nice and tight. So I usually do, I can tie it for you. I'll do that. You can put your finger in there or a friend's finger and then do another tie. I'll chop off the extras. Okay, so that's what the back should look like. 4 diagonal lines, then 1 that goes across, kind of like tally marks. And then the front just looks like that. And that is how we set up our loom. Next time we're gonna start weaving. Do make sure you're treating my balls of yarn very nicely as we do this. If you have any extra yarn, wrap it back around on the ball of yarn so that it can be ready to go for the next person. Now that you have your llama loom all ready to go and you have your warp in here, it's time to add the weft. And I have this purple yarn as my weft. I'm going to pull some that is about the length of my arm stretched out. No more than that, otherwise it gets really long. Go ahead and just chop it. Leave that tail right next to it, even tuck it in. Tucked. There you go. I'm going to leave some extra back here and snug that in right up top. Now with this part, you can see my yarn is already kind of fraying a little bit. You could just use this, or you can use a needle if you want to. When I put this through a needle, I fold my yarn in half, so I'm not trying to squish this fraying part. So I squish it in half, pull it through, and then I just kind of leave a tail. So I don't tie it on there. You can if you really want to, it's just a lot of extra work. And I'm just gonna go over and under, so doesn't really matter how you start. I think maybe I'll start going under, go over that one, under, over that one, under. So it's all woven in with my needle, and I just pull it through. Now don't pull it through too tight, otherwise you might pull this part out. And squish it up to the top. Okay. Now whichever way I ended here, I've got to do the opposite. So I can't go under again or else this will come out. So my purple is underneath the green. Now my purple is going to go over the green. So let's see, it's the complete opposite this time. I'm going to show you what happens when you don't do it opposite, if I do it the exact same way. Oh, my work just came undone, so. Or if it gets like caught in between, that means you probably did half of them right and half of them wrong. So make sure you're going the opposite way every time. Be wary of snags and knots. And then don't forget to push it to the top. If you find this is really hard, you could also stick if it's a bigger weaving, you could do a popsicle stick or a chopstick in there. And sometimes that can help you kind of get underneath. I think mine is fine, so I'm not gonna use it. But if you're like, I really have a hard time getting underneath this, that can like elevate it off of the loom a little bit. So I'm just gonna keep going until I finish up my purple yarn so you can see what happens when I switch colors. A really common thing to happen is if you pull it too tight, it'll start to kind of bend in. That is gonna happen to probably most. If you don't want it, just keep kind of pulling them out at the edge. But a lot of our weavings will kind of swoop in, and that's okay. Another thing to watch out for is sometimes when you're weaving, depending on the yarn you used as your warp, you might accidentally put your needle inside of the yarn, so just be wary to go all the way under when you go underneath instead of like through the yarn. If that happens, just take your needle out and do it again the correct way. I'm just gonna kind of snug this up to the top. Some people really get worried about these strings and they tie them together, but honestly, if your thing's tight enough, you don't need to. I'm just gonna start where I kind of left off. But be careful that your tail is long enough, otherwise I'm gonna lose my needle. There we go. So I'm gonna just leave those tails over there and keep weaving with my white. Oopsies. There we go. Okay, that's all I wanted of the white, so I'm gonna just snip that tail again. I like to put all my tails on the same side. It makes it easier for me. And I wanna do a little bit more purple, and then I'm gonna be done. I will warn you, the closer you get to the bottom, the harder it gets to just like, the strings are just so small and tiny. So there will be a point if you can't go anymore, that's kind of gonna be when you're done. But go as far as until you can't weave anymore, essentially. Okay, I've done my last one. I'm gonna spread it back out a little bit. I've been squishing it, but now I can spread them out as high and as low as it goes. I can't even see my green yarn anymore because I filled it all up. I have this one and I ended over here, so I'm going to tuck it in. And I'm going to tie these strings. If you ended on this side, then you could just tie it across there. I'll just snip that off over here so it doesn't show on the other side. Now I've got these guys over here. If you really want to, you can tie them together once before trimming them. It's not necessary, but if that makes you feel better. And then just trim them right. Don't cut your weaving. If you need me to help you with this, you can do that. My weaving is so tight, those things are not gonna come out. I could take this extra yarn and I could use my hot glue gun or even my regular glue and like wrap it around, glue some little fluff on, all this good stuff, okay? So that's my little guy. I can't wait to see what yours look like.